Good morning. I'd like to call the Kankakee County Full Board meeting for September 10th to order. Today's invocation, John Featherling, County Board Member.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and fellow County Board members. I know that gathered here today. Heavenly Father, thank you for safely bringing us together today. We ask that you give us the knowledge and strength to continue to serve the people of Kankakee County. We rely upon your guidance to help us provide a peaceful, safe, and meaningful life for our residents. We also ask that you watch over our police officers, firefighters, and paramedics as they carry out their very difficult job protecting our county, and also watch over our troops of home and abroad. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Mr. Hess.
Present.
Mr. Tholen. Mrs. Polk.
Present.
Mr. Snipes.
Present.
Mr. Seroy.
Present.
Mrs. Weber.
Present.
Mrs. Parker. Mr. Carrico.
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Present.
Mr. Swanson.
Present.
Mr. Featherling.
Present.
Mr. Donnell.
Present.
Mr. Miller. Mr. Long.
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Present.
Mr. Hunter. Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand.
Present.
Ms. Foster.
Present.
Ms. Andrade.
Present.
Ms. Armour Earps.
Present.
Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday.
Present.
Ms. Ripman-Akemi.
Present.
Ms. Turner.
Present.
Mr. Marion. Mr. Lowy.
Present.
Mr. Wheeler.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Under public commentary, I just have one today from, who is this person? Rosemary Foster? Sorry.
Good morning, everyone, once again. I want to remind the board members and the community at large that the 30th annual Christmas golf outing will be on September the 18th. And this is going on their 30th year. It was developed because of the fact that people in the community felt that no one should be alone on Christmas Day. This is an organization that has provided Christmas dinners all over the county. So I spoke with you all individually, but I wanted to do it as a whole. And I do have forms here, and also Mr. Hunter can give you information on the organization. And we're asking that people come out, people donate, because it's a very worthwhile organization. Thank you so much.
Let me piggyback if I might, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. We have
Oh, wow, your mic's already on. All right, go ahead, Mr. Hunter. You got the mic.
We have 10 different sites throughout the county, and all the respective communities. We serve in excess of 1,250 dinners to those individuals throughout the county, friends, relatives, retirees, people who don't have relatives. We also provide this stuff free of charge, bags of fruit, gift cards, entertainment, etc. And we also look for volunteers to serve on the different sites. As you take a look at the flyer, let me just run off the locations. And Kankakee County locations include Bourbonnais, Bradley, Grant Park, Mantino, Momence. Kankakee has 2 sites, St. Anne, Sun River Terrace, and Sherbrooke. We appreciate your assistance. We've been doing this, and we're going to honor some of the honorees that we've done for the past 30 years. I serve on that board along with Rosemary. It's a viable organization, and we appreciate any kind of donations or any assistance or volunteers that you may be providing. I remember Ed Mundy, longtime assistant in this initiative. Randy Van Fossen as the initiator of this fine organization. We're 501c3. We appreciate any kind of assistance you can provide.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right, moving on. Before we get into the agenda, I just wanted to personally thank Kelly Bilak and Delbert Skimmerhorn, Greg Hayden, Ben Wilson for all they did to step up with the river regatta. They really went above and beyond their job descriptions to get out there and get the flags ready, the presentation, so the public would see that we actually are doing things to the river. There's equipment that is, by the way, good things to the river. I should have clarified that. So the equipment's coming in. You're going to see a lot happening. The next administration will obviously have things to tell you as things go on. So I just couldn't be happier that all that work is what you did was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So the vacancy appointments, resignations, I don't have any today. There's still time. Presentation, proclamation, and I think, Mr. Hunter, would you care to read that into the record, or would you have Mr. You would like Mr. Hendrickson? I know this was your motion, so if you would please read that in the record, Mr. Hendrickson.
Proclamation of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, honoring the memory of Reverend Vincent E. Clark. Whereas Reverend Vincent E. Clark unexpectedly passed away on September 2nd, 2024, after a life devoted to his family, this community, and his Lord's good works. And whereas Reverend Vincent E. Clark was born in Kankakee, Illinois, as the second of 7 children of Frank and Betty Clark, and received his education from Kankakee District 111, Kankakee Community College, and Northern Illinois University, receiving his bachelor's degree from Governor State University and master's degree from Olivet Nazarene University. And whereas Reverend Vincent E. Clark and his wife Alicia shared 5 children, Carrie, Vincent, Jacqueline, Justin, and Jaden. And whereas Reverend Vincent E. Clark began his ministry journey at Morning Star Church under the Reverend William Copeland Jr. in 1982 and was ordained in 1992. And whereas Reverend Vincent E. Clark served as associate pastor at Zion's Gate Missionary Baptist Church, and then as senior pastor at Mount Olive Missionary Baptist for over 20 years, commencing in 1998. And whereas Reverend Vincent E. Clark served as president of the Kankakee branch of the NAACP, and for over 30 years with Kankakee County Community Services Incorporated, providing care, resources, and comfort to this community as its executive director. And whereas Reverend Vincent E. Clark's life has been one of service to his family, church, and his community, truly taking on the Lord's work as his own. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Kankakee County Board expresses condolences to Reverend Clark's family and gratitude for his life of good works and selfless devotion to the welfare of the people of the county of Kankakee.
Thank you. Mr. Hunter, would you make the motion, and then we'll come back to you if you have comment?
Yes,
Is there a second on that, Mr. Snipes?
Polk.
And we'll make a, I would ask if there's a unanimous second from the board on this. Can we note that for the record? The good work that Mr. Clark did, he was a recipient of ARPA funds, his organization. And I unless somebody says no, I'll note that as a unanimous second. He was a friend of the board. He did great work in the city, and we noted his organization as one of the major awardees of things that we had did with the ARPA money, which was distributed throughout the community. I hear about it all the time. And by the way, it bought a lot of homeless people, or at least people that were having housing insecurity at the end of COVID, that bridge to get back going. A lot of those people weren't left without housing because of that situation. We funded his organization. They went there to get the funds. So I will say if there's any issues that way, let us know and we'll remove you from the second. But Mr. Hunter, did you have comment?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That's just probably a minuscule item that Reverend Clark, as the executive director of the Kankakee County Community Services Incorporated, has done. There would be a litany of things that he's been able to do. He was a charter member of the African American Brain Trust, and I consulted with the African American board members in presenting this particular resolution and proclamation. I'd like to first thank the Chairman Wheeler, the State's Attorney's Office, John Coughlin, and Kelly Bilak, executive assistants, for their assistance in this regard. Just to say a few things, you may recall that one of the recipients of the ARPA funds, the Zeta organization, came under the umbrella of the KCCSI, as Chairman Wheeler had indicated, made a magnanimous presentation before, I think, the Finance Committee some time ago. I think it was fitting and proper that we have this proclamation, and we don't do this always, for people in the community who pass, but he was a pillar of the community. There will be wake services at Jones Funeral Home on North Schuyler 3 to 6 Friday. The funeral services, his homegoing, will be at Morning Star Baptist Church, 500 block of North Harrison and Kankakee. Visitation 9 a.m., services at 10 a.m. I think Pastor Ron Bartlett will be doing the eulogy. And I just want to thank all of you guys, everybody on this board who voted unanimously for allocating the funds to KCCSI and some of the things that Chairman Wheeler indicated. And that's my comments on the motion.
Is there any other comments? Mr. Snipes?
Yeah, I echo, I had the pleasure of being with Vince for the last 20 plus years on this KCCSI board, and certainly he's going to basically miss, and I echo the sentiments even of the community and friends and those that are going to be attending the services on Saturday and the wake on Friday. With that being said, I just want to clear up a few things on this proclamation. If they go to paragraph number 5, they can take that apostrophe away from, it's just Zion Gate, not Zion's Gate. And then if they can get into paragraph number 6, that it should just be without the apostrophe, just it's executive director. And then lastly, in paragraph number 7, where it says life was been, one of the services should just be has been. So that's the only thing, if they can make those corrections for the proclamation.
Any other comments? I'll just say that I enjoyed the man. He's a friend, and I appreciated the content of his character. We had a lot of great talks. I'll miss those. Moving on. Oh, motion to approve. We had that already. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Certificates of appreciation. Daniel Hall, 15 years at the Sheriff's Department. Nobody here? Emerson Rushing, 15 years at the Sheriff's Department. Geraldine Sudeth, 20 years at the Sheriff's Department. Say that. Geraldine, if you see, no, there he is. Oh, that's Jerry? I knew who it was.
Call her Cody.
Yeah.
Well, good morning. We do call her Jerry at work, although the certificate is made out to Geraldine. So, but one of the things that the sheriffs are statutorily responsible for are paper service and civil process. Jerry came over to our office. She's only been with us for almost 5 years. The rest of her time she was at the circuit clerk's office. But she has been with the county and served our county for 20 years with a great deal of hard work, dedication, and to manage, as the office manager, to manage 190, 200 employees is a lot. And she does it, our employees have a lot of respect for what she does. It's a tough job. The civil process she helps bring in a lot of revenue to this county. And she is an asset, not only to our department, but to the county as a whole. And we hope she certainly sticks around for a few more. So Jerry, congratulations.
And also have Travis Carson, 20 years in corrections. So the minutes of last meeting, August 13th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Miller, second Ms. Parker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Claims Committee reports.
Mr. Chairman, members of the County Board, your Committee on County Claims would beg leave to report they have examined the following claims presented and recommend payment. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to the several claimants. Total claims of $9,125,543.99.
Is there a motion to approve there? Mr. Eckhoff, second. Mr. Long, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy. Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Dunhill. Mr. Miller. Mr. Long. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Smith. Mr. Alexander. Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Ms. Armour Earps. Ms. Monday. Ms. Rittman-Akemi. Ms. Turner. Mr. Marion. Mr. Lowy. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Department reports, please.
County Collector's Monthly Report for July 2024. Total cash and banking investments, $26,231,494.11. County Treasurer's Report for July 2024. Current tax account at Midland States Bank, the ending balance of $1,605,609.77. The tax collection account at Midland States Bank, the ending balance of $78,082.69. The tax e-pay account at First American Bank, the ending balance $3,067,438.10. The special fund sweep account at First American Bank, the ending balance of $21,480,363.55. Coroner's Monthly Report for July of 2024. Total calls 108, coroner's cases 11, autopsies 3, toxicology 4, 2 donations, 1 fetal, 47 hospice, 49 referrals, 72 cremations, 1 x-ray, 3 COVID-19, 1 pending. Coroner's Income Summary Report for July 2024. Total of $5,850. Circuit Clerk Cash Book for month ending July 2024. Total disbursed of $329,299.84. Recorder's Monthly Report for July 2024. Disbursement fees paid to the County Treasurer of $150,361.08. County Clerk's Monthly Report for July 2024. Total of $28,467.34. Monthly Building Division Report for July 2024. Total permits 100. Total fees $42,910. Animal Control Monthly Report for July 2024. Total of $36,150. Total animals handled 105. Monthly Resolution List for August 2024. Total of the county of $11,470.53.
Is there a motion to combine and approve? I'm sorry, Mr. Lowy. We're second. I saw a hand back there. I apologize. We'll go with Mr. Featherling first, and then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. I'll get you next time, Mr. Marion. Sorry. As far as the consent agenda, I'm pulling 119 and removing that. I won't be serving on boards anymore. The establishing, so the rest of them, if you could read the rest into the record.
Establishing the 2025 holidays for Kankakee County offices. Amending the predictable fee schedule for the County Recorder's Office. Agreement to approve decommissioning plan and bond in the amount of $191,738.80 for Lincoln KA32 Solar LLC project. Agreement to approve decommissioning plan and bond in the amount of $236,804.47 for 2000 North Solar 1 LLC project. A resolution accepting to use the Illinois Housing Development Authority's Strong Communities Program Round 2 for the demolition of 2 land bank properties. Authority for the county board chairman or his designee to sign an agreement between Kankakee County and Surdex Corporation for the Kankakee County 2025 aerial photography project. Amend ARPA 2024-03-12-26, awarding the bids for the Kankakee County Circuit Clerk's Office remodeling project. Amend ARPA 2023-03-14-72, authorizing the expenditures of American Rescue Plan Act funds, fiscal year 2022, Fund Number 98, Kankakee County Courts, Tyler Technologies Case Management System. Authorizing the expenditures of American Rescue Plan Act funds, fiscal year 2024, Fund Number 98, Court Street Ford for 2 vehicles for planning and probation. Resolution authorizing the emergency repair of structure number 046-3281 in St. Anne Road District on 6000 South Road at 9150 East, utilizing a 50% match fund from county bridge funds.
I apologize. Is any of those need to be removed? I forgot to ask the group. I removed the one. Is there any of those they want removed and considered separately to talk about? Second time. I should have done this first. I apologize. Before he read it in the record. Okay, we're good then. You good with that, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, I need a motion to combine and approve consent agenda. Mr. Dunhill, Mr. Swanson with a second. All those in, roll call.
Mr. Hess. Aye. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Aye. Mr. Seroy. Aye. Mrs. Weber. Aye. Mrs. Parker. Aye. Mr. Carrico. Aye. Mr. Eckhoff. Aye. Mr. Swanson. Aye. Mr. Featherling. Aye. Mr. Dunhill. Aye. Mr. Miller. Aye. Mr. Long. Aye. Mr. Kirkstra. Aye. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Smith. Aye. Mr. Alexander. Aye. Ms. Foster. Aye. Ms. Andrade. Aye. Ms. Armour Earps.
Aye.
Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms. Rittmanick-Emmy. Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Marion. Aye. Mr. Lowy.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Under PZA, the ZBA case, if you use that title in the record, please.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding ZBA case 24-05, variance to section 121-146.I.2, side yard setback, road adjacent, in section 15 of Bourbonnais Township.
Alrighty, let's get a motion on the record first. Mr. Marion, approve? Second, Mr. Lowy? Alright, let's go ahead, Del.
This is a request by Mr. Richard O'Connor, the property owner of 2063 East 3000 North Road, which is Armour Road in Bourbonnais Township. It sits at the corner of Rivard Street and Armour Road. It's a house outlined in red on the map up there. He would like to build a new front porch on his property, which is the yellow square. When the home was built, it was built 18 feet from the right-of-way of Rivard Street instead of the required 30, which was, I think, back in the 1970s. Since the porch would also be encroaching into that setback, the variance was required. Zoning Board of Appeals voted 7-0 to recommend approval, and PZA concurred with that.
Any questions on this situation? Well,
the porch will not be any closer to the road than the house is.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Featherling? Oh, we already have it. We have it. Now's the vote. Sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Locked and loaded. Thank you, sir. Under finance, if we could read the title in the record, please.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, awarding the bid to the lowest bidder for the roofing and tuck pointing at Kankakee County Detention Center.
Is there a motion to approve on that? Building and grounds, Ms. Parker? Yep. Second, Dr. Polk?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I keep forgetting to get to the TV, sorry.
Okay.
So is there any questions about this? It's pretty much, we already did the bid opening. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hess. Aye. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Aye. Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico. Aye. Mr. Eckhoff. Aye. Mr. Swanson. Aye. Mr. Featherling. Aye. Mr. Dunhill. Aye. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Alexander,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Andrade, Ms. Armour Erps, Ms. Monday, Ms. Turner, Mr. Marion, Mr. Lowy,
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item for the title, please.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding authorizing the expenditures of America Rescue Plan Act funds, fiscal year 2024, Fund 95, ELARA for HVAC engineering study.
Alrighty, is there a motion to approve on this one as well, Ms. Parker, coming out of Building and Grounds? Is there a second?
Oh,
Go with, let's go with Ms. Monday on that one. She was quickest to the draw. Any questions about this? What it's going to give you is really a map of all of your HVAC units between this building, which I believe there's like 14, and then over at the courthouse. It's going to list them in the order of what needs to be replaced or identified to be looked at, not even looked at, to be replaced in order, worst to first, if you will. So it'll allow the board to make a decision with the final ARPA allocation that we were talking about. It'll be expensive. You have other options of other funding mechanisms that could be presented whenever that comes back. The key is that the HVAC part of this, not the engineering side, but the HVAC part has to be back before the end of this month. Because we have to go through steps at the board in order to allocate that ARPA funding that has to be contracted before the end of December. So I don't think the next board wants to have special meetings just to get everybody in the room to approve that. But it may take it. I'm warning you ahead of time that there's a lot of moving parts here. In order to know what you're going to spend money, you got to know, well, how much, and you got to know what, and then what does that plan look like in your overall financial picture. So you guys will figure that one out. Any other questions there, Steve? Yeah.
You referenced ARPA. What other avenues or alternatives are you looking at?
I do need to, let me address that at the end. I have it under old business.
Okay.
Because I wanted to get some information out there regarding that.
Okay.
Because we said it, but I don't think anything was released officially. So I was going to use that today. Point taken, though. Is there any other questions about HVAC? All right. We had a motion and a second. Kelly? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy. Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Dunhill.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Ms. Armour Erps.
Aye.
Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms. Turner. Mr. Marion. Mr. Lowy.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. I do have a question actually for State's Attorney. I'm going to put him on the spot. With the next item, the mileage reimbursement for Waterway Advisory Committee members, it seems to me we should offer the same thing for our Animal Welfare Advisory Committee members, because they're not compensated either, mileage coming into the meetings. Is that a simple voice vote, do you think, to amend this? And
I
then,
wouldn't do that. I think because the agenda speaks specifically to WAC. I think you'd have to, if you're gonna amend it to include AWAC, I think you'd have to do a new resolution, bring it to the next meeting.
okay,
Because there's no notice on this agenda that would also include AWAC.
all right. Is that acceptable? Then we bring that, make sure that gets on the agenda for executive or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And does the group kind of feel like that's fair? You know, they've been going without compensation and volunteering their time because they care, same as the river people. So let's, can't make it retroactive, but maybe going forward. So this matter stands on its own today. That's why I asked the question, if we could try to move things along. All right, well then, if we could just get the title, I'm sorry then.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding mileage reimbursement for Waterway Advisory Committee members.
Is there a motion to approve on this? Mr. Carrico is the chair, second Ms. Foster. Any questions? Basic mileage, IRS rate. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber,
Aye. Aye.
Mrs. Parker,
Aye.
Mr. Carrico, Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson, Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Donnell, Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Alexander,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Andrade,
Aye.
Ms. Armour Erps,
Aye.
Ms. Monday,
Aye.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Marion,
Aye.
Mr. Lowy,
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. We have a few openings. Do we have, yeah, there's actually 2 on the Public Building Commission, so I just want to make that change. If we can note that when you're saying it. Ain't nobody got time for that.
You ready?
Yep.
One opening on the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee for a Shelter Community Representative. One opening on the Historic Preservation Commission for a Historian. One opening on the Kankakee River Conservancy District. 2 openings on the Kankakee County Public Building Commission. One opening on the B.M. Lewis Drainage District. One opening on the Canavan Drainage District. One opening on the Clawson Park Drainage District. One opening on the Exline Creek Drainage District. One opening on the Gar Creek Drainage District. One opening on the Grinnell Special Drainage District. One opening on the Joe Bennis Drainage District. One opening on the Little Beaver Special Drainage District. One opening on the Mantino Drainage District number 3. One opening on the Mantino Drainage District number 9. One opening on the Minnie Creek Drainage District. One opening on the Momentum Yellowhead Drainage District number 1. One opening on the Snake Creek Drainage District. One opening on the Spring Creek Drainage District. One opening on the Union Drainage District number 2, Janier and Moments. One opening on the Yellowhead and Washington Union Drainage District number 2.
Thank you, sir. Under new business, is there anything before we get into the regional rural transit update? Is there anything under new business that we need to get into? Yes, Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, this is just food for thought for the 28 board members. December 1st will be upon us relatively soon, and I'd like to see some kind of transition plan in terms of, succeeding the chairman. Some items such as the river project, the comprehensive plan, grants, transportation, the regional transit, show bus, and the list goes on in terms of items that are going to need to be addressed. I think it's been a steal for having Andy as the quasi full-time county board chairman, and it's going to require a whole bunch of stuff in terms of these items that I mentioned, as well as other things that have to be done. Maybe you guys are not really fully aware of the stuff that, or the things, the items that he and the administration have to do. Over and above the job description that we think is something general coming to a meeting and running, there's a lot more to it. Those of you who interface with him and about different stuff or items or orders of business realize that it requires a lot. When you think in terms of the roles and responsibilities that he does and the lack of compensation for that position, I mean, it'd be easily 6 figures, but it's a paltry amount that we pay him. Of course, I know we've upped the chairmanship and the vice chairmanship for the next administration, but it's still a steal when you think in terms of the things that have to be done, the interface. Just for example, he just mentioned the things that the county has done in terms of the regatta. Those of you who attended that, amazing. People from all walks of life all over the country came to that. That's not necessarily in his job description or whatever Kelly and other individuals did. We appreciate those efforts, but you got to really be thinking about December 1st and the transition in terms of what's going to happen. I think we need to identify some of the vicissitudes and big things coming up. We got contracts, we got medical stuff, but it's not just that, we come to these meetings and stuff. It's a lot more that happens between this meeting and the other things that transpire with this administration. Be thinking of that.
Is there any other new business? Alrighty, the regional rural transit update, and Craig was along with, or was front seat on this one too, so if he would like to give the basic of what's going on to the group and kind of tell them where we're at and make sure you're good. Thank you, sir.
Very good. So roughly a couple of weeks ago, we were notified that the people who have been running the program from McLean County were no longer interested in running the show bus program. And so that involves the counties of Kankakee, McLean, Ford, Iroquois. Am I forgetting somebody?
Let me back up. So McLean ran a 7-county district that did not include us. It included like DeWitt and all those counties by McLean, and also Ford, Iroquois, and Livingston. So the original calls came from us from those. McLean County just woke up one day and said, we're not doing rural transit for all you other counties anymore. You guys are on your own. They didn't even know they ran rural transit. So everything is correct what he's saying there, because it was a grant that McLean had and they just did it all. They'd see show bus going down the road and didn't realize it was them. How many people here know show bus is you? I mean, there's a lot of people don't know that, and so they're the operator. So Ben has, started transit systems, so there's a reason I know what I know is because I get information from people who actually know what they're talking about, not saying anything. So in that case, we do have a subject matter expert in the room, so to speak. Yeah. Yes. Please go ahead.
We should invite Ben to this discussion as well. But
those counties don't know what to do, so that's where you come in, and we started meeting with them.
Yes, we went to a meeting that involved most of those counties, excluding Ford, and all of them expressed interest into the possibility that we, Kankakee County, might be the central planning, contracting, etc. Person for that grant. It's a federal grant, goes through the state of Illinois, received and contracted through show bus. So I think it's a very important service for our county. People use it to get to work, to get to the doctor, to appointments that they have that don't have any other way to get there. Very important, especially to our older population and medically challenged population. So I think I'd like to have Ben kind of explain what we're looking at, and obviously he is the expert on that subject. Maybe. There you go. Thank you.
So how big of a barrel of how big of a gun are we staring down? I guess for a little bit of background, as the transit year progresses, DOT needs to put together their funding allocations at year end. So we, as part of our regular process, would apply for both our downstate program and our 5311 through the feds to be live on July 1st. So when McLean decided to back away, they're telling the other jurisdictions, as of June 30th, we're no longer involved in your rural transit. And so it seems like we've got a little bit of time. And then a letter was penned from DOT to the counties saying you have until October 31st to decide what you're going to do and give us a plan as to how you're going to do it. So rightfully so, caused a little bit of panic within the county communities. And so fortunately, I guess they've got a good partner in Kankakee. They've reached out to us to ask maybe can we assist. Had some preliminary conversations with DOT. We've had quite a bit of conversations with the individual county board chairman, so they can take information back to their boards as to how potentially Kankakee County would be involved, maybe in a similar capacity where McLean was involved as the general grantee for the funds, also the program compliance and oversight monitor, which is the role I serve as our current PCOM. And then generally managing the system. Again, this is something we do on a yearly basis with show bus for just our county. The question would become, do we want to do that for a greater county? I guess as far as this body is concerned, and this is directly from David Spacek at DOT, he's requesting that we would approve a resolution as kind of a lead agency, and then the other counties would approve a resolution as subordinate agencies. So essentially they would be giving us their transit dollars to help them run transit. And he wants to see this done in resolution form. We were working a little bit of conversation about letter of intent. He really doesn't want to see a letter of intent because those can fall through. He'd like to see a resolution of the board. The December 31st timeline, as you were all aware, is very difficult for us because all of us meet on the second Tuesday. And so it's a little unfortunate to say by just, by Halloween, you got to do this. It's like, can we be 8 days after Halloween or something like that? So I did ask Mr. Spacek if we were through committee in October and we had a good feel for where we wanted to be. If we didn't get it adopted until November, would that be satisfactory? And he did indicate that would work for his timeline. I will say there's still a bit of heavy lifting at the staff level to see what we have to be involved in. Ultimately, this will be your decision, but I don't, and we said this a little bit in Iroquois County, I don't know that staff would be recommending to you that we pay for the privilege to help someone else do rural transit. So this would be something where they would have to be involved, financially involved, making sure that their local matches are being made. And we have this kind of peel these layers of this onion to try and figure out what the system looked like. I will say what is nice in the direction I'm getting from DOT right now is that they're looking for a 5-year term on this agreement. So not only do the current counties that are exiting from McLean County get a good feel of what the timeline would look like, we would have some sureties if I had to put a staffer in the planning department to manage this. I wouldn't want to hire somebody on a 1-year contract and then have to cut them loose. That's just, it's kind of messy on our end. And then everybody gets a good feel for what it looks like. What also it gives the state is the current system's a 30-year-old system. Some of the parties involved haven't asked questions in years, and they don't necessarily know what services they're receiving. They don't know who's being hauled where and what the costs look like, because it's all been kind of under this umbrella of McLean County. By allowing this 5-year term, it allows us to reevaluate at the end of that. Each individual county would be allowed to reevaluate this, where we wouldn't necessarily be locked into some massive long-term agreement, and then we wouldn't necessarily be perceived the same way that McLean is perceived at the end of the 5 years if we decided this wasn't something we wanted to move forward with. Because the last thing we need is a system that fails 2 years down the road, and then we're big bad McLean County saying, you know what, we've decided we're going to step away. But also we need to really reevaluate this entirety of the system to ensure that there's enough funds available. And I talked this morning in the parking lot with both Craig and Mr. Alexander about, if there's not enough money to run the system, the last thing we want to do is take this on. If our vendor and show bus cannot provide the rides for the residents because the funding allocations aren't at the current standard, that doesn't make sense for anybody, because we really don't want to enter this to be a year or two or less into it and then say, oh, I'm sorry, funding's cut in half and we're not allowed to see the funds. I have some assurities from Mr. Schaefer that he's going to continue to fund the system at the current rate. What is very convenient for us is I know exactly how many people are in each of the counties. I know exactly how many people are in the urban areas, and I know exactly how much funding they currently get, and we can do some simple napkin math in my office. So we're able to get a good feel for how much money should be going to each of these counties, so that way we can make a better recommendation to you as a body as to how we might move forward. So more to come. It's unfortunately far too complex. I mean, it just truly is, but it's something that we're willing to work through, and I think a committee meeting will likely end up with a working committee meeting to talk through a lot of the minutia of this deal and ensure that our vendor is going to be able to satisfy the needs, and that the counties that are feeling currently underrepresented in this deal feel like they're being represented, because again, if we're all not in this together, this becomes the same kind of transit animal it is currently.
So
there are some questions. Is there any more initial statements about this that you want to get out there? That I'll just say that when the comment is all funding would be, I said that from the very beginning. We'll never go down this road if it's going to cost us money. And we do have residents that go south. We have people in Watseka that come and use our public aid up here because they don't have an office down there. So there is, I want to say, an obligation to Kankakee County residents to make sure this works. But we don't have to take this on if it's going to cost us ridership or routes to do it. So that's really how this manifests in the grant. Because our legislators didn't know anything about this, I had the deputy governor in my office. He didn't know anything about this going on. Everybody was at a complete loss that this was happening. I've asked for the trust but verify. You can tell me it's not going to change. I want to see it in writing that the funding's not going to change, and then we're not going to end up, as I told Ben, with all the garbage buses that exist in the current McLean County area, that they start shipping the ones with high mileage to the small counties. Because, and we'll make sure there's gotta be, it's almost like a fantasy draft I can see working on the buses. But again, that's too much in the details, but I had to protect us first. And then how do we help everybody else out? As long as it's budget neutral or better, I thought you guys might be interested in solving the problem for our region. So please, any questions? Peggy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ben, for all your work on this. So being in sales for 30 years, of course, I always want to know what's in it for me, but for the county. So what you're saying then, Andy, is the real service here is just strictly that. It's a service that we're going to do for other counties surrounding us. It's not anything that's really going to benefit us. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, there's some efficiencies here, and that's where I mean, so you get a big pile of grant money to offer rides within the region, and some programs pick up, some drop off. You know, where you can allocate those funds throughout the year based on your match to ensure you've got kind of all of the funding in place for the rides. There's rides that run within our region too that have some value. Is it a Kankakee ride? Is it an Iroquois ride, right? So do you use Kankakee dollars on it or do you use Iroquois dollars on it? The question becomes kind of as a greater system, there's some value there. There's some efficiencies within the system generally. We do fortunately kind of currently experience them where we only pay for our direct portion of admin time out of show bus of their entire system. So the Kankakee kind of, we segment all of that off.
Right.
So you're not paying a full-time salary of a administrator and administrative assistant and office manager. We pay 12% of that or whatever that is based on the hours they work towards it. So it makes a little more sense to kind of have that where if you needed more bus drivers, you can pay for a portion of a bus driver out of one grant, a portion out of the other. It would offer more buses within our system. Right now you'll see blue buses, the blue show bus logoed buses in our community. Those are not our buses. Those are McLean County's buses that if one of ours goes down, they kind of allocate those resources. We do maintain our 13 here within the county, but there's some kind of fluidity within the system for that. If this all falls on its face, it's not good for us. I mean, we are a micro here, right? In that we have our 13 buses and we run our system with show bus. But if this all falls apart for show bus, it makes it difficult for them to operate in general. And they are our only vendor that comes back. They're a not-for-profit out of Chenoa that offers rural transit. There aren't a lot of transit providers out there in the community where if this doesn't continue to happen and show bus decides, you know what, if we can only do a small portion of what we used to do, we're just not going to continue to operate, then we potentially are put in a really bad place. I think that is kind of a nuclear look at what the reality is. I don't see this falling apart. I think everybody's in it to make it work. But I do just want to impress upon the board that there is some intrinsic value as an overarching value, and then there's some specific values within the transit system where we could receive maybe it's additional routes, maybe it's more coordinated routes, maybe it's some general efficiencies where you get more grant dollars available because you're doing more efficient things. Maybe as a larger system, we could apply for a different grant fund. There's some value there on a kind of a one-off, but generally there's value.
Mr. Hunter.
A couple questions, Ben. Could you explain the seeding process of those other communities, to us potentially? Also speak in terms of the liability, and also can you speak to the admin monies that would be allocated for the oversight? Is there going to need to be some kind of board of oversight for this project? There's a lot to respond to.
I'll go backwards. You are the board.
We are?
You are the board.
Okay.
We would be the grantee. The one thing that would be nice is now that we've gone through this, the state would do a better job in tracking the individual counties' dollars, so they would know what they're receiving and where their funds are going versus just, here, Kankakee, here's an extra couple $1,000,000, you guys just do transit. We would be responsible for doing a better job tracking that entire system. Right now, we just know they're all our rides, so that helps. So we don't need another layer of management in this. There is some administrative responsibility here. I think this is where, and I met with the PZA and talked a little bit about this probably 6 months ago. The state is pushing very heavily through their FTA reviews on making sure that we are more involved in our program compliance. And they really would like us to have somebody here 20 hours a week doing the PCOM work. I serve as your PCOM now. It's very difficult for me to commit 20 hours a week to this system. We do our inspections, we do the reviews on the monthly requisitions, we do our quarterly reports, we do all the things we're supposed to do. But I don't necessarily have enough time to inspect all the buses very regularly or route shadow or even ride the system or things that you could do if you had more time to that. As the state works on this, they're trying to push for more of that. So to that kind of admin part, the bigger the system, the less potential dollars would get sucked up from a single system, right? You'd share the burden of that, where just every dollar we spend on administering rural transit is a dollar that isn't rolling on the road. We want to limit our burden from an administrative standpoint as much as possible. That doesn't mean that we can necessarily have a zero burden, but every dollar we take out of local match dollars is essentially $7 or $8 we're not spending on rural transit. So you want to limit that local match dollar. You really want to maximize the grant with that. So the way the grants are structured, we can spend about 65% of like a PCOM salary out of grant funds. So we're not necessarily obligated to come up with 100% of that salary. But there is some kind of one-to-one dollar conversations that the state's having with 5311 and DOPE, and also some, where does that 35% come from? Because, do you want cash match that could be better spent on additional grant rolling stock versus being just administrative burden? And so there's, again, some more pieces we really need to look into, and unfortunately we don't have a ton of time to do it.
By the way, Ben, 20 hours a week, that's what they're saying just for us.
Yeah, that was the request of me at my last PCOM training, was that I would give 20 hours a month to be in the PCOM.
A month, excuse me. Yeah, but 20 a month, but times 4 for PCOM. And then they want it to be more in depth with there's maintenance records and making sure people are certified to be maintenance mechanics and measuring the depth of tread. And seriously,
there was a lot of things that were suggested that we be doing, and the glaring example is, am I sure that the diesel mechanics am I ensuring that our diesel mechanics that we're using to work on our buses are certified mechanics? So I should just go get my certification and work on the buses? I mean, at what point are we drawing this line for my oversight? We make sure that the dollars requested match the expenses. That's our.
So they're not doing 70 oil changes on one van. So, you know what I'm saying? That's the stuff you're supposed to look for in these audits. Is that?
And so, and again, this is all stuff that we're familiar with from a process standpoint. It's just trying to figure out how we scale it up to a 4-county region.
Do you see the possibility of additional grant funds?
Well, yeah, there's more grant funds available just by adding people, right, per capita, than there potentially would be, from a program standpoint, we could apply for additional funds. And I feel like this is where grant funds is a very weird term, in that we don't maximize the current grant we receive. And this is where I think Ms. Monday had an interesting point. If you sell the system and you find service contracts and you do more work, those service contracts match your additional grant dollars, you free up additional grant dollars. And so the more you sell the system, the more rides you do, the more rides you have funds to do, and you can offer essentially better service. So it's about doing as good a job with the people that we have, but we could be doing better if we had more resources. And that's where this really does have some very good upside on the grant opportunity.
Bones, you got something?
Thanks, Chairman. Ben, put you on the spot. Dedicated routes, could you discuss that a little bit? And Laura's not here, is she?
She's not.
No, I was wondering what the ridership is in the county.
You want to talk about, so I guess
the dedicated routes, like to Moments?
We work in what's essentially fixed route, so A to B or A to B to C, and then we do something called demand response, whereas you call, it's dial a ride. So we run a commuter route from the Kankakee transfer station to 3 or 4 locations in Moments. As a commuter route, we run it on the hour, every hour, starting at 5 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. We do this every single day, Monday through Friday, and we take people back and forth to work. I don't have the most recent numbers, but that's about 50% of our transit burden right now is that commuter route. We run routes directly from Hopkins Park up to Moments, similar commuter routes with very full buses. These are the ones, and so that's kind of the fixed component of our system. We don't deviate much from that fixed system. We will, for ADA, like paratransit opportunity, we'll jump off a road maybe a block or 2 off, but we run those routes every day like a cycled route, similar to what Metro does within the urban area. And so that's about half our bus load right now, as far as user trips are concerned. And then we do, with the other half of it, is where you got a doctor's appointment coming up in 2 weeks, you call and say, hey, can I get a ride to this location at this time? So,
any guess at all about the ridership? I know Laura's not here, but she would have that right off the top of her head, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, all I'd be hearkening back to is older numbers and then there's this whole pre-COVID conversation where, are you doing 7,000 trips a year and 3,500 of them was that pre-COVID numbers or is that current numbers? Yeah, at one point we were kind of looking at that. We're always operating at 7,000 to 8,000 a year and 50% kind of thing. So we're giving 3,500 people rides, and that's a quarterly number. So you get good ridership within the system. But what I will do for the group is either we'll disseminate it. I'll get the most recent bus updates just so you know exactly what we're running in our system. Just for more for edification, but you'll have that after this.
Mr. Long, do you have something else? Yeah.
I just want to say that I'm kind of new to this whole idea. I was kind of invited for a closer look. Everything that I've seen and heard in the conversations is pretty positive. I think we should explore it. We're talking about a 5-year commitment. We're talking about the possibility of expanding our abilities to, gain more rides, more buses, more control over that situation. And clearly, one of the issues that came up right away was that there was not a lot of data available. And consider this grant started 30 years ago. The standard 30 years ago and the standard today is a little different. And so putting the numbers together is going to be difficult for it because we don't have great numbers to work with. McLean just kind of did it and passed out the grants, and we don't have a lot of raw data to play with. But I think you can see the value. We're getting our people to work. We're getting our people to the doctor. We're getting, and we could expand that to say, the people from Iroquois and the people from Ford and these other counties, providing that service for them. And they clearly don't have enough infrastructure or people to handle this. That was the common theme amongst all of the people that were represented at the meeting, was they really don't have the people to do that. I think that if we can explore this, if we get the head nod from y'all to chase us a little bit, I think we're going to find out that it could be a good thing for us. It'll be a great thing for them. Just a way to move forward.
So I appreciate that, and I know Mr. Ciro had something, but I just want to explain that we had to bring it here because this is moving so fast. Originally, it was they had to know by the end of October, which would have forced an October board meeting, decision from us. Now we've got till November, but it's still, that's way too fast. So it's like, to my point to Ben, letter of intent. They said, well, that can be, pulled. Well, so can a resolution can be overwritten too. It's like 6 of one, half dozen another. So, but that's the path that we're going on right now, as opposed to what we originally thought was a letter of intent, which was a lot easier. We didn't want to also take any steps on this without the board knowing what we're heading towards. You will still have an opportunity before the end of June to look at the nuts and the bolts, but the agreement's going to be in place. And I don't know how to address that now. Maybe we just have to address it in committee in the next board meeting as things fall into place this month.
We will still go through our formal process of having a hearing to address public transit needs within the county. You will see ordinances and resolutions for the application process. We'll have our total request amounts. Again, we'll have a little better granularity of the math from DOT as to what was the old Kankakee system, what the added counties are to kind of add up to that bigger number. But we'll still go through this full process, and until you act in April, probably this isn't necessarily moving forward. It's the board's decision. I think, though, what we need is some sort of kind of general in spirit wantingness to move this forward. And we get a head nod there, and then if the math works, if the system can sustain, then from our end we'll be recommending to the board we move forward.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rowe.
If the board did not go forward with this new initiative, a 6 or 7 county initiative, would the county still be able to maintain its current show bus operations?
If we choose to, yes. Yeah, so we could, I could call David today and say, hey, the board was just absolutely against the idea. I got a lot of head nods, doesn't seem to be the case. We're just gonna stick with our system. We're gonna get our 166,000 and 5311 and our 2 million in dope, and we're just gonna do the Kankakee County system as we've previously done it.
And if the board goes down the path of the 6 or 7 county initiative, 4 or 5, and down the road prior to that, would you say an April date?
Yeah, we would pass the final ordinance as far as entering for the application.
So if you go down that road and then you get into February or March and the board decides, like you said, they could step away from it. If they go down this path now and step away from it later, will they still be able to operate Kankakee County's show bus as it is today? Or will it be too far down the road to do that? In other words, will we lose all show bus opportunities? Because if that's the case, then this is a really crucial decision for the board to make now, because you don't want to go down one path that you can't necessarily complete and lose show bus altogether. That would be devastating.
Our hearing documents that we put together in February and March could outline whichever system we would like to move forward with. Didn't go to law school, he did. I don't know how the state would feel. Yeah, from a process standpoint, we could do that.
Date where after that you're either fully in or maybe all the way out.
From a process standpoint, whatever ordinance you passed in April is the system that we're talking about applying for. And I don't believe that DOT could come back and say, the FTA allocation that we had held for you is now we're going to be mad at you and pull it or something like that. But I do think it's important, and to Mr. Rowe's point, I think it's important for you guys to understand the kind of gravity of this decision, and that we don't want to continue down this path leading an expectation of our neighbors that we're going to move forward and then kind of pull the rug out, because then they're really in a bad way. And so that's why, although this timeline's a big crunch for us, I almost like that I have to have an answer to DOT by end of October, early November, so that way everybody can know what the path is and still have 6 months to do something different if it's not the wishes of this board to move forward in that fashion. And so we are kind of up against that timeline now. And again, if there was something that came out of this, maybe liability got brought up.
I brought that up.
We do require. We have liability now. We also have the tort law that absolves us from quite a bit of liability. We do push insurance requirements onto our vendors. We do what we can to ensure that they're compliant. FTA has standards and certifications and assurances that they have to pass. We sign off on, they have to pass, making sure that we'll do all of the things we're supposed to do from a federal and state standpoint. So there's some coverage there, but ultimately, you can sue anybody for anything. Doesn't mean we'll lose. We got a good team, backing us up. So, and we'll do everything right the same way we do it for our one county system, for a greater system.
Mr. Sear, I had a question in the back. Todd, sorry about that.
That's right.
Worked your way around.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for leaving me last, because nobody's really asked this question. Mr. Wilson, and before, I think you do a great job of managing our local system, bar none. So you do a fabulous job. There's no issues. that anybody can see. All right, so thank you so much. The question I have is, why doesn't McLean County want to do it? They're a lot bigger budgeted county than us. They have a lot more resources than us. So why would they not want to just pass the dollars through them? So there has to be some reason, the underlying reason, there has to be some reason that they don't want to do it anymore, whether it's counties not matching their dollars or what have you. Have you got any of that information?
Yeah.
You don't have to say it here publicly, but there's got to be something.
There's anecdotal information surrounding this that I don't really want to get into, but they do have some new leadership. Let's just say that. But also, because this has never been unwound for them to know, the funds don't come through in 5 separate grants or 7 separate grants to McLean. They get one pool of money to offer transit for the region. And so, you know, they're probably asking that, saying, what is in it for us? You know, what are we doing? And have we made or lost money because of this over the last 25 years? And then they ask the question, I'm certain they have, how much of the grant goes directly to our residents and how much goes to, you know, another resident? And they don't get a clear answer on that, right? And so I can see where that comes up as a topic, but I do agree that the first thing, you know, if McLean's dumping it, why are we picking it up?
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's
because it's not always transportation. Is, as a guy that I met that runs transportation in Ferguson, Missouri, he said 1 bus is too many buses, and so when you try to tackle more buses, and let me just caveat to my next question because I don't want to keep this meeting going. We can talk all day about buses. Is the grants capped right now?
Yes. So the federal 5311 funds are allocated on like $1.66 per capita, and then downstate operating assistance is formulaic. And this is where you, like when Kankakee was founded as a transit system, we received more than additional funds. Just because they saw a need here, so we don't have necessarily the base funding. McLean doesn't have the base funding, and this is the bigger question that we have going forward from affording the system. New grantees don't receive as much of an allocation as old grantees. There's kind of this like favorite kind of mentality, and so if we're going to look at all of these counties as new grantees, that's problematic.
Right.
And so then although the grant isn't necessarily capped, it's artificially capped by DOT in that instance. And now again, we're being assured that's not happening, but until I see the numbers, hard numbers in writing, and we've requested that of our partners, they're receiving information on their allocations in Livingston or Iroquois. They say, we'll give you these, you know, but then we put all those together and say, well, you know, McLean got X and you guys represent 20% of X, you should receive this.
What in going forward, just to let you know, the transportation industry, as well as you've been asked to provide all the inspections, all the things, all the regulations that are coming down on just your portion of it, that has gone up industry-wide over 30%. So if you're not going to get more than 30% of what they were getting last year, it's a loss.
Yeah, so the one thing that's convenient a little bit about rural transit is we provide up to the grant amount.
Yeah.
Right? The question becomes whether or not 30% less rides are given.
Right.
Where the funding's available for the rides. And we have a per trip, you know, calculation we don't want to spend too much per trip. So we'll reduce routes if we need to. But again, that's still impact on the system. So I think fundamentally what we end up with is you have as much local match as you can leverage in grant, and you do that much transit. And the more local match you have, the more grant you get, the more transit you do. And we don't typically run up against running out of grant funds. We haven't yet, at least.
So the operator side, I think, is definitely challenged.
Yes.
And so and I'm not saying you're wrong in viewing it the way you are, because you're viewing it from both owner operator. We're not the operator. So that's why I think so few people bid on these things these days, because that's a tough living to make. That's why they're all not for profit. So I will say that, you know, Mr. Rowe's comments and Ben have talked, and I have talked about this. people don't know that, and I'll just jumble this up into one sentence, try to at least. McLean County is making us FOIA, meaning Iroquois and the other counties, all the information on show bus. They're just not turning it over. So that's been very cumbersome to get information out of the county. We have anecdotal information to answer your question why they're dumping it. I can't think that it's anything other than we're not a big government person and we need to just take care of the home team and you guys are off on your own. The other people didn't even know they had a rural system, as I mentioned. So that's why the mad scramble. With like a month ago, I got the call. We got working on it right away. The grant, in my opinion, we'll talk more about this, needs to be written in a manner that it identifies everybody in it. Because right now, I don't think the McLean County grant, without seeing it, because we're waiting on the FOIA, it's all them. And so you can't see what each portion is. Luckily, we have Showbus who's doing the routes, so we can kind of reverse engineer this whole thing back together. We're sitting in a position of being able to put it together where nobody else is. I hope that makes sense. Whether it's good for us is going to be a result of that analysis. Do you see where I'm going? So it looks like forest through the trees, and knowing that the money's in the grant to pay for the PCOM that has to manage all of these counties and inspect the buses and go out there, because they were saying to Ben, you know, you can't, this needs to be a 20-hour, you know, job here. Well, what they're saying it to everybody. They're saying the administrator in Livingston County can't do it as part of their job. So they've already told them that. So they're looking for one person to manage all this. And is that your biggest concern, is the resource to get this done? Because I was just gonna ask, tell the board what the challenges are to getting this done, because they need to know. I know that I'm gonna have to be working almost exclusively on this with Ben the rest of the time that I'm here. Because he has like 12 other things to do every day. Yeah. You guys like river equipment and grants and all the other stuff? Seriously, I mean, it's,
yeah. There's a bigger conversation we need to have, and I don't want to get too into that under this, you know, agenda item. But I will say, it's building a transit system is very cumbersome. I mean, we're talking about, again, reverse engineering what the rides look like, ensuring that we've got, you know, appropriate number of buses on the roads, you know, kind of allocating those resources appropriately. Still working and managing with Showbus to do that. But yeah, the other part of this, I guess it should be noted, is that we have some dissatisfied counties now, and they're going to want to know what services they're receiving, and they should know. Now, whether they've been asking the question all along, I know that Mr. Hess attends Region 6 HSTP things with me. We haven't seen a lot of these county representatives at these meetings, and so it's like you have to be involved in your own system. But yeah, the requirements of trying to ensure that each of the entities have what they need, and I would say that this is where, you know, the initial conversation at the Iroquois committee meeting was, we develop an IGA to clearly spell out what our responsibilities are, what their responsibilities are, and what should be turned over. In developing that document, which we've got a little bit more time to do, it would require the commitment of a full-time staffer, which I do not have the time to commit that much of my time to doing this activity. So we really kind of need to take a hard look at that as a department to see how that would work, because we can't go into this half committing staff and then just kind of expecting it to work. You know, again, our system runs well. We can continue to operate that way with minor updates, but not for a new system like this.
Ben, I have a question then, because I have a lot of moving parts. Since this is 100% grant funded, do I include it in the planning budget pending a decision? Because we're working on the budgets at the same time, so I don't know how to go without a total vote here. Basically, the head nod is going to tell me to put it in the budget that we're going to be looking at as a draft next month. So yeah. You see what I'm up against here is I'm trying to make everything flow and work, and I don't know what everybody wants to have happen. So that's why these gentlemen are along for the ride, because you guys are going to have to be doing it when I'm gone. So it's like, I just need instruction now. What do I do the next month, which is critical, you know, in this whole process?
I guess, yeah, Downstate Operating Assistance Program, which is operating cash, but we're allowed to use it for admin, can pay up to 65%. And so the delta there is, you know, whatever that, you know, that 35%. So from a budgeting standpoint, We wouldn't need to budget 0, unfortunately, because it's not. And I guess this is the board's decision. We currently don't use local match to pay for PCOM. We use our CATS MPO planning grant under something called local transit technical assistance. That's where I bill to for this. That is not a cost. That's a 100% grant that pays my salary for these activities out of the feds and the state on the planning side of the house. And so I would hope that we don't take away, that we put $15,000 a year into rural transit as an organization. I would hope we don't take that cash, which again allows us to access additional grant funds. If we take that and put that towards this PCOM position, then we just have less grant funds for rolling stock on the road.
Right.
And so
we can't cut our legs off. You know, so that's why I wanted to get that on the table. I've got to allocate this in both areas. Still the 15,000 local match, working on local match with other counties all along, because that could enter into all this as well. You see how there's so many moving parts that we have to put together, but it looks like it's going to work. The money looks like, as long as the state guarantees it, Ben, it looks like we won't end up paying for other counties.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a simple request to have of the counties to say, if you want Kankakee to do your work, it's going to cost, based on your population, $10,000 a year.
Right.
And that would be their local match contribution.
Ms. Earps?
Real quick, why don't we get 2 options? One with this Kankakee County only, and another option with everybody else rolled into it, and see where we benefit, or if it's worth it, or anything like that. We're spending a lot of time here discussing something we don't know. So if we could have like a PowerPoint or whatever saying.
You won't have that until June.
Okay, well, but we can have something, I'm sure, that says this is what we benefit if we're just Kankakee County, and this is what we benefit if we help our neighbors. I'm assuming we should be able to have something like that, because if we're running as a business, it needs to be profitable for us to do this. If not, if we're just being neighborly, that's not worth it. Not for our county. That's just my opinion.
And that was my point too, Amanda. Thank you. It's like, you know, if we're doing this now and it's rolling along pretty good. I understand that there could be some additional benefits maybe if we did this on the larger scale, but I don't think I don't know how in the world we're going to make a decision on this without more solid details, and there may not be any. So really, Ben, it's up to, we're going to rely on you completely, honestly, because you are the one who can say, listen, we can do this, and this could be the outcome, or no, this is where we need to stay because. Is that what you're saying, Amanda?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we really don't.
Doing for our county and how much it's worth for us to do it. If it's not profitable in a way that helps us, other counties need to step up and do their own then.
Right.
Well, I'll just say this before I get to Robert. If it's break even, it's good enough for me, because our residents will be impacted by the other counties failing. Right. So I care more about the residents than the money.
Yes,
Mr.
exactly.
Snipes.
Amen.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just need from Ben, because I mean, we can talk about it for forever. However, intelligence must dictate that we must rely upon your expertise, because you've dealt in this area. If I can have what they call a projected narrative of the pros and cons, just your projected, say, hey, we can look at this, it's feasible, it's economical, it's reliable, it's affordable. Give me your synopsis after you kind of sit down and go through this, and just give me a brief narrative to say, hey, green light go, red light stop. That's all I would suggest.
Well, I think it's fair to have this on PZA as a.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we can kind of.
I'm done.
Roll the.
You're going to need a committee of the whole.
Well, let's say a greater act. I just at the next committee, planning staff attends, which would probably be PZA. And if you need me at a different committee, certainly let me know. Or if you want to do a committee of the whole, or just want to watch it on video, I want to say this though. I appreciate the confidence, I really do, but this feels a lot like a policy decision to me of the county board. And I mean, I will give you guidance as best I can, but ultimately this will be your decision to make as to what policy we want to set moving forward. And again, I can give you what I have. I can work with Laura. We can have her attend a meeting. We can talk about what the trips look like. But ultimately, you know, based on what information we can convey to you, that you'll then have to kind of direct staff as to how you want us to meet with DOT and talk about what will look like moving forward. I don't necessarily feel comfortable saying it. You know, if I'm cool with it, you guys are cool with it. That's not. That's a little bit more responsibility than I signed up for. So.
You want some of these?
So a lot more to come on this, Mr. Hunter. Did you have something to tie it up?
I concur. I think it's bigger than PZA. I mean, I would, you know, you see how, what have we been talking about this for 40 minutes maybe already? You know, you may want to consider, Chairman, a committee of the whole to discuss this, because there are a lot of other questions that we have, and I think, not to just paraphrase it, but or monopolize on the words that you use, there are a lot of moving parts. And I think we need to look at all facets of it, pros, cons, etc. So it may require, you know, a committee of the whole and a special meeting, because it's a big step that we may be taking. And for the comments and the vicissitudes and the drawbacks and the questions that people have articulated, and there are probably more. And I would, you know, I know we're probably going. I am. After this meeting, I'm going to be talking with Ben and the chairman about other facets of it that haven't even come up yet.
Well, I appreciate it, Steve. I just encourage the broad conversation, because it's not just as it may seem as this isn't a money-making opportunity. This isn't a let's save the world opportunity. It's really a combination of both. How can we help our neighbors and still make sure that we're providing a high level of service or better? And the only way you're going to get to that number is by going through a 4 to 6 month process, maybe hopefully 4-month process, but you can do napkin math to say the number of people that live in an area, as Ben said, it should be this, and Showbus says, yes, it should be that. Once we get the information, McLean, we can give you that and say, here's the actual numbers. It looks like we can move forward on an agreement, or this ain't adding up, guys. There's something. That's what we're going to come back with. Not everything is still up in the air, and we got to wait till unwrap the present on June 30th. So, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Chairman. Going back to Mr. Rowe's question about budgeting and stuff like that, Showbus is in the same situation that we are. We're in a fiscal year to year where the state goes from July or June 30th to July. You know, you ask about if we decide in March or April we don't want to do this, Showbus has got to get this into their budget now too. So.
When has that been?
As far as when we would move forward on contracts with
the
purchase
rural
service?
transit, the operators. Yeah.
See that in March, usually PZA March?
I thought it was April, March, yeah. Okay. So again, if the grant's written the right way, we'll know what each one is, and if somebody says, we're out, well then, maybe they gotta go find a PCOM, because Kankakee says that they don't wanna do it. The PCOM thing has already started before this situation happened. Ben was already getting those calls. You might have heard it too, Bones. So, we'll move on then. There's really no decision. It was just getting people thinking about it, because frankly, the last month has been all these variables coming in and left, right, and it's drinking from a fire hose. Old business. I wanted to remind everybody we released the ARPA $75,000 as a vote of the board in the same areas as before. So I brought this document up. This is the press release that's on our website. But those are the areas at the bottom: the mental health, housing, if you'd scroll down, workforce skills development, and youth development and programs. This is the last 75,000. So here's the timeline. And this seems like it works, but to get the proposals in by October 14th at the County Board Admin Office. The evaluation team will meet soon after. I'm assuming that you want the same people evaluating that did all the others. Mm-hmm. And they will make a recommendation to executive on the 22nd of what their thoughts are, and then the full board in November. Then we can get contracts in place before December 31st. That meets Steve's requirements and everything else. So Is there any questions on that?
Andy,
Yes,
I
Dr.
have a
Pope.
question.
Yes.
Youth development and programs, could a not-for-profit get in on that?
Oh yeah, that's kind of what it's geared for.
Thank you. That's
Yep.
all I need to know. Okay, thank you.
Yep. I just advise everybody, please target what the board had already spent money with a consultant identifying the community needs that were the gaps that we were trying to fill. That hasn't really changed. So if anything, it's gotten a little wider. I think that was it. So is there any other old business? Mr. Hess?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Following, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, same sign.